Before we go any further, just want to thank all the people over on Patreon, because without their help, none of this upgraded content that you'd be seeing would be possible. Over on the Patreon, you get exclusive sneak peeks at upcoming videos. You also get access to the Patreon only Discord server. Coming up soon, I'm going to be working on talking about other anime that I can't talk about here on YouTube, like say ReZero, Konosuba, and etc. I'm also going to start posting the scripts for video essays, and every 3 months we do an anime and manga haul. We also are going to open up the Patreon only Discord server to YouTube members at the $2 price tier, which also means that members will be seeing their name here alongside the patron. But with that being said, let's get back into today's video. Yo, what's going on, everybody? It's your boy Naruto Explain here, bringing you guys another review for Boruto Naruto Next Generations, episode 283. And now that episode 283 is done in the books, we got a lot to talk about, because this episode really sped through the pacing from the Sasuke Reassigned novel as well as the manga adaptation. There were some things cut out of this, but there are also some seeds being planted for the major plot twist that is getting ready to come to the story, especially if you read the manga. This anime episode is setting up a major plot twist that is coming in the next manga chapter that we're going to get week after next. So one thing I will say before we get into the anime review itself is that scene where you had Sasuke and Sakura, and it was the big ring scene that is probably going to be something that a lot of people are paying attention to. Is Studio Pierrot was smart. Whatever amount of time you have to do in order to have the art have that level of composing and that amount of work done to it, if you had the art look like that consistently, 90% of the people saying, oh my god, Boruto has terrible animation, 90% of people will be sucking off the anime like that, because most people can't tell you the difference between squash and stretch, slow in and out, pose to pose, etc, etc. Most people don't know the difference between art and animation. If you did that, most people would suck it off and call it peak. Now, with that being said though, let's back things up and let's get into the review itself. So I like how the episode opens up where you have Sasuke and he's getting beaten up by the guards. Now, obviously one change that was made from this is the fact that when Sasuke is getting beaten up by the guards, the whole point of the reason is for Sasuke to grab one of those cloth passes. That way he can walk through the whole prison undetected and not have to worry about Meno. And since you cut out that scene where Sasuke saves one of the prisoners from Meno and gives him his cloth pass, you really didn't need that scene where Sasuke's getting beaten up. But it's one of those things where you can tell they're doing it in order to try and make Zansuru look like a really bad guy, where he's beating up Sasuke. But because Sasuke is getting beaten up by those guards like this, you're gonna have idiots on Twitter and TikTok saying, my god, Sasuke is now prison guard level. Those same people, if they stop and think for like 2 seconds, Sasuke's undercover right here. The scene then shifts over to Sasuke sitting in his prison cell, and he's listening to his cellmates talk about this beautiful woman who has come to the prison system, and she's working as a doctor, and they all talk about how she's not married because she doesn't have a ring. And we see another change to the Sasuke Reassigned anime adaptation, where Sakura fans are going to be mad because you're not going to see Sakura's brand new jutsu being shown, because instead of Sakura being the one that discovers that there's a hidden room inside of Zansuru's office, it's actually Gano who talks about the fact that Zansuru has a hidden room inside of his office and that he's keeping something secret there, obviously setting up the next episode. And so essentially after Sasuke finds that out, Sasuke sneaks out. But while Sasuke is sneaking out, you have Zansuru, and he's joined by Meno, and we see that there's a second Meno there, and Zansuru says, well, that's fine, I can just make another one. So you can tell what they're doing here. They're really playing up the whole mystery of Zansuru, trying to make him seem like this really bad guy and making you wonder what's going on there. I don't want to go into spoilers on it, but at this pacing that you're getting with the anime, you're probably going to find out what makes Meno special in the next episode, just because of how fast this is going. And so after Sasuke starts sneaking around, that's when Sasuke encounters Meno once again. And when he encounters Meno, he once again confirms, like, wait a second, Genjutsu doesn't work either, which that's also going to be something that gets confirmed later on as well, why Genjutsu doesn't work. However, when Sasuke gets into that battle, he's dodging the attacks, and Sasuke immediately pulls out one of his scrolls after getting a cut on the cheek, and he draws his sword and begins to go into battle. Sasuke then realizes that that dragon beast that he's fighting actually ended up pulling a Bill Cosby on him, because all of a sudden everything's getting all woozy on him. He begins to start falling over, and the poison begins to start taking effect, and then that's when Sakura shows up with that cloth bandage, and Sakura ends up saving Sasuke. Now, the next thing that you see here is that Sasuke and Sakura are inside of the hospital after Sasuke wakes up, and you see Sakura, and she's taking a blood sample from Sasuke, and she's telling Sasuke that, like, hey, this must be a poison that is unique to this land only, because your body has no immunity to it. So what that should tell you right there is that this is something that Orochimaru did not account for when he gave Sasuke all that poison immunity. So anybody saying that's a plot hole, that's the reason why for that. Now, the next thing we see here is that Sakura gives Sasuke an update from what's been going on with Kakashi in the land of Radaku, and Kakashi copied down one of the passages and sent it by messenger to give them an update. And so essentially there was a meteorite that was coming to Earth, and when the Sage of Six Paths was sick, the Sage of Six Paths was able to split the meteorite, and he hit the polar particles, one on the Earth and one in the heavens. But that meteorite contained polar particles, and that's what cured him of that illness. And Sakura takes a step further and says that she believes that Naruto's illness comes as a direct result of having the Biju chakra inside of him. Which, to go further into an explanation on why that is, Hagoromo and Naruto are the only people who have had the chakra, the 9 Biju, with Hagoromo being a 10 Tails Jinchuriki and Naruto being a pseudo 10 Tails Jinchuriki, because Naruto only has vestiges of chakra from the tailed beast, but they're the only ones who have had that much chakra in their bodies for that long of a time period. Naruto's been in this situation for 16 years. Madara and Obito only had it for a few hours. That much chakra in the human body for that lengthy period of time, the human body cannot sustain that. So there's a little bit of stuff that you find out when you start combining the information from all 3 Retsuden novels. That's why I'm not a fan of the anime just squeezing everything into 5 episodes, because there's gonna be a lot of context that's cut out of here. However, the next thing that we see is that Sakura starts getting mad when Sasuke says, like, yo, go back to Konoha and take care of our daughter. And when Sakura tells Sasuke, look, I can handle myself, you're gonna need help here, especially if you're right and there's something mysterious going on at this prison, you're gonna need extra help. And so when Sasuke and Sakura continue talking, Sasuke realizes that there's somebody who is standing outside of the doorway. And that's another change that's taken place, because in the novel and in the manga, Gigi was the one that snuck into the hospital, and Sasuke was hiding behind one of the curtains, and Gigi went for the whole creep moment where he was trying to touch Sakura's hair and smell it and do God knows what else with Sakura. And that's when Sasuke grabs Gigi by the hand and says, get your hand off of my wife. A little bit of a change there, but that's a change I'm not going to get upset over. So essentially after they get found out, that's when Sakura tells Gigi, like, well, this prison doesn't allow for visitations. I just want to see my husband, so that's why I'm here as a doctor. And so after Sasuke and Gigi leave that room, Sasuke tells Gigi, like, dude, don't tell anybody that's my wife. And that's when Gigi, being the ever pleasant, nice guy that he is, with all that happy-go-lucky music playing, interesting choice by the anime there. But when Gigi starts talking to Sasuke, he says, like, yeah, you know, I got a fiance and we're gonna get married as soon as my prison system's over. You know, she works in the capital, which the capital is where Kakashi is, as a reminder. Essentially, Sasuke hears all that, and for a moment you can tell Gigi is working his way through Sasuke's defenses. Sasuke continues to start gathering information, and he asks Gigi, do you know anything about the Book of the Heavenly Stars? And that's when Gigi tells Sasuke, like, hey, you need to check with Pingila, because he's the one that works in the library. That comes after Gigi asks Sasuke, is he worried about anybody taking Sakura? Sasuke's basically like, look, dude, you see all this riz I got? I ain't got to worry about it. I put it down on Sakura so good that she ain't checking for nobody else, D. Now, the scene scene then shifts over where you have that famous scene where you see Sakura playing the card game with Pangela, and what you end up finding out is that Sasuke, after you hear Sakura say like, dude, I can gamble, my master taught me how to gamble, Sasuke's like, wait a second, this ain't right. Tsunade is known as a legendary sucker, she's sucked at gambling, I don't think this is a good idea. The anime ended up cutting out the scene where Sasuke was about to put Pangela under a genjutsu, and what I like here is that we're seeing, even though they cut that, you're seeing more of that ninja element, because when Sakura finds out about the card game, you start seeing more of that ninja must see through deception stuff, because you see Sakura, she immediately finds out about the different cards, she memorizes the different patterns on the cards, and then Sakura looks over the rules and the different combinations you need, she memorizes everything, and then she starts memorizing all the small changes that are made to the cards that they're playing with, looking at which ones are bent and where the bents and scratches are on the different cards. That way Sakura can assemble her hand as needed, and that's essentially how Sakura ends up winning off of one hand there. It's basically ninja counting cards. Now what I like about this is that you see just the intelligence off of Sakura there. That was something nice to see on that aspect of it. And so when the two of them then later on that night begin walking through the underground library where you need special permission in order to get into it, and because Sakura won that card game, they have the key to access that library. You get the infamous ring scene that I mentioned earlier, where if Studio Pierrot was smart, they would play on the fact that most people don't know anything about animation, and as long as the character art matches the character models in the reference sheets and you do the compositing like what you see in this episode here during this scene where you got all the shading and everything, the compositing, if you had everything look like that the entire way through, everybody would be satisfied online who's opening their mouth. The thing I'll say though is that I was not a fan of the fact that they cut out Sasuke making that ring out of Earth Release, but it's one of those things where that ring's going to come in handy later on in the arc itself. I don't want to go into spoilers on it, but that ring will be coming back into play in a major way. Now when they find the book that they're looking for, things once again get sped up where you have Sasuke and Sakura, they look at the different paintings that Hagoromo had, and Sasuke's like, well, wait a second, like you said, this looks like the painting that Sai does, where Sai uses that ink. Well, maybe the Sage of Six Paths is the one who did it. And so when Sasuke begins looking at all the different paintings, Sakura's like, well, these are clearly references to the constellations, so we can start putting these together to look at the stars to try and find out where he hit the polar particle. And Sasuke's like, yeah, but the other thing hidden inside of these different paintings that are in this map is the fact that these are all the tailed beasts. And so you have all 9 tailed beasts, you have one creature coming out the ground that is going to be the 10 tails, and then you have the astronomer, and then you have the Sage of Six Paths himself, which that is also kind of cool because again, it's a ninja must see through deception. It's the move hidden behind the move. Hagoromo on one hand had these pretty paintings, but hidden beneath the pretty paintings was the fact that it's also a map to the constellations to find the polar particle, but also hidden beneath that map is the fact that you're seeing the story of Hagoromo, because one thing the anime does not tell you here is that Hagoromo came to the land of Radaku several times. It was not just a one-off as a 10-tailed Shinchuriki. He actually brought the tailed beast to Radaku with him and let the tailed beasts out and let them play and roam in this area. So I like seeing those little small things right there because it just shows you that classic Naruto vibe. And as Sasuke and Sakura are looking through and putting all the pieces together, that's when you get the moment where somebody was listening in and Sasuke realizes, wait a second, I think I heard something, but my beautiful, attractive wife's here. Maybe I'm just gonna stay here and simp for my wife. Well, that kind of sets up the fact that there's somebody who is working with Zansuru, and that's just a good way of putting that little Easter egg in there, because again, that's probably gonna get revealed in the next episode based off of the pacing. And so when they find out that Hagoromo left the map in the order that he did, that's when they talk about Zansuru's hidden basement, and Sakura says, well, there's somebody coming from the capital Radaku. I will just transform into that person tomorrow and we will be the ones that go to speak to Zansuru. And that's where the episode itself ends off. This was good. This is a fast-paced episode in terms of the amount of content that was covered. Just going off of this pacing, we're probably going to get the start of the fights, not next week, but the week after next. So my episode question to you guys is going to be, if you've not read the novel version of the story, and if you've not been reading the manga, what do you think about them adding foreshadowing in there that Zanzuru has somebody working with them? And who do you think it is? While you think that over, click here to watch the chapter review for Sasuke Retsunden chapter 6.2, or click here for my Spy Family video over on KRYPTONIAN SAIYAN.